Hi guys, Scott Franklin here from Scott Franklin Performance Coaching. I help people live awesome lives with no regrets. Today I want to talk to you about authentic relationships. So when it comes to authentic relationships, I feel that it's important to know where people stand in your life and why. So to do that, during my life, there was a couple of hardships where I went through where I was trying to figure out who was my friend and who wasn't my friend, or whose relationship was important to me and whose wasn't. So during this process, it became very clear to me who was who. And during that process, I created this imaginary emotional solar system that surrounded me. So you imagine there's a rings, circles that surround us. So the closest circles would be the people who emotionally we're closest to, and obviously the further circles away are the people that we're more distant to. So how it would work is I call these your one percenters. So the people in your closest circle are your one percenters. One percenters can be your family, your partner, your kids, and your two best friends. So or even your family pets. So generally that'll fill up the 1% circle. They're your one percenters because they're there for you no matter what. Then the next circle would be your 5%ers. So your 5%ers, there may be, for example, 4 to 6 of them. They're a 5%er because there's probably a few times they haven't been there for you, but also probably a few times you haven't been there for them. But 95% you can emotionally lean on them and trust them and rely on them, but just not 100%. But they're still absolutely awesome to have. They kind of almost feel like 1%ers when they're there with you. So that's the hard part is to distinguish, is because there's a little part missing. Then you've got your 10%ers. So your 10%ers are people you've spent a period of time with, but you've just drifted apart. But when you see them, things are still awesome. So they could be, for example, people you've gone to school with, or people you worked with, or people you played sport with, etc., etc. So you've just drifted apart. So emotionally, you can't lean on them or rely on them because they're just not around. Then your 20% circle would be people that you may have gone to school or played sport with or worked with, but maybe you weren't as close to them as you were with the 10%ers, but they're still great people to have around. And so on and so forth. This process would go all the way out to your 90% circle of people that you just want to have nothing to do with. So the circles are based upon your values. So when your values are being met, it lights you up on the inside, and when your values aren't being met, it pushes your buttons. So people will depend on what circle or what ring they fit into, depending on if they're meeting your values or not. Now, this can change. So you could have someone who's a 1%er one day, and then they just do something wrong by you. That's just a red flag. It's just so wrong by you. It doesn't meet your map of the world. It doesn't meet your values. And you can move them out to your 90% circles. Remember, it's your imaginary world. That's your emotional solar system of where you want to have people in your life. And what this does, it helps emotionally protect you, because then they can't push your buttons. They can try, but they're not in close where they've got access to all your buttons to push all your buttons. That's why you just want loved ones and people that understand you and your values and your buttons. They're the ones that you want in your 1%ers. I've got certain family members that I've moved out into my 90% circle. There's nothing wrong with that. If anything, it's actually more healthy because it's more destructive having them in close. There's still an undercurrent of unconditional love there, but they're just not the type of people that I would choose to have in my life. But they would probably say the same thing about me, so that's fine. The other complication that can happen with this process is if you've got someone in, say, for example, your 5% circle, but they've just started recently doing things that push your buttons, but they didn't used to. So that can just mean that you're progressing, you're evolving, you're changing in a positive way, and maybe they haven't. And that's why they're starting to push your buttons where previously they didn't do that. So you've got a couple of options. You could teach them, help them grow with you, teach them what you're learning about and help them evolve and grow along the same path you are. Or you just mentally and emotionally push them back to maybe the 10% circle or the 20% circle, because from that distance, that emotional distance, they can't push your buttons as much, because the closer the person is, the more access they've got to your buttons. So the whole idea behind this is to help give you clarity on who to spend your time with, like who's going to fill your cup up the most and what people potentially are going to try and empty your cup and push your buttons. And it helps you make decisions. Like say you've got events to plan, things that you want to do, things you want to organise, people you want to see, and you want to know who to invite and who not to invite, things like that. this emotional circle will answer all of your questions for you, because you may just want 1%ers and 5%ers, or it may be a thing where it's you're catching up with old sports friends or school friends or work friends or something, so it may be extended all the way out to the 10 or 20% circles. But the idea behind this is to give you clarity and confidence in your decisions. Thanks guys, hope that helps.